begin?
Mark Stewart, you've just survived a Sunday in hell, your debut, Paris-Roubaix. Tell us about the race.
Yeah, where to begin? I think the first thing to begin with Paris-Roubaix was we were sort of entering it as a brand new team. So even just to get a start, it was our 4th month of existence as a Modern Adventure Pro Cycling. So even just to start was a monumental undertaking for our staff, for our riders. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes in an event like Paris-Roubaix compared to every other road event you'll do, really. I think you need staff on almost every sector because you're going to puncture, you're going to drop bidons, and the cars, because there's so much chaos going on behind you, you're going to need people that are handing out water bottles, that are feeding you, you know, after all 30 sectors. So yeah, it was a nice insight into just how big a race it is and what an undertaking it is for the team. And then for me personally, there was a lot of nerves, to be honest. It's a dangerous race. I'm 30 now, so I'm aware, I'm sane. So I'm aware going into a race like this of just the risks you have to take if you want to be at the front of a race like Paris-Roubaix. So yeah, it was a mixture of sort of nerves and also excitement, because there's so much lore to Paris-Roubaix that you're like, you can't quite believe when you're on the start line and you're lining up for Paris-Roubaix. You're nervous because you know you've got 6 hours of hell to come, but you're also super excited because you're one of the lucky ones that gets to experience it and do it. So yeah, it was a big mixed bag of emotions.
Was it a bit of a childhood dream to line up on the start line for it?
I'd definitely say, yeah. Yeah, I mean, what made it super special was, so Modern Adventure Pro Cycling, our team manager is George Hincapie. And I grew up watching George Hincapie ride Paris-Roubaix. I mean, he's done 17 of them, which is probably plays no little part to how we actually got the start to Paris-Roubaix. But to do that with George was, yeah, really added to the sort of childhood dream aspect. I remember in March we did a recon with George because he's still super fit. And he crashed on the first sector, actually. We sort of lost him and we're like, where's George? And man, he just rocked up after the sector, like a big smile on his face, mud all over him. And it was quite nice to get an insight. You see on the TV these superstars, but even years later to get an insight and like, oh, he just loves it. And that is infectious. So yeah, that was super cool.
From sort of childhood dreams to childhood roads, we're here in Dundee. How did growing up in Scotland and in the sort of Angus roads shape your career in pro cycling?
Yeah, I think I got quite lucky, to be honest. I think Discovery Junior Cycling Club started when I was 10 years old at Caird Park, just down the road from where we are now. And John Bremner and Martin Harris, they would take us in the winter out on road rides and sort of teach us the ways, and we would race each other and have fun. So I think that played a massive part in sort of enjoying the road and learning how to ride properly on the road. And then now I sort of come home a few times a year and I'm able to sort of explore a bit further, and they're tough roads. I mean, the potholes might match the cobbles of Paris-Roubaix.
So from obviously coming off the back of riding road, Paris-Roubaix, you're also a decorated track cyclist. How do the mindsets and races compare between the two disciplines?
Yeah, I think specifically what I'm sort of learning as I'm getting exposed to bigger road races and sort of different road races is I've picked up a really nice skill set on the track with British Cycling, with the Olympic squad. I mean, they dot every I and cross every T, and people say marginal gains, but they're also massive on sort of big gains. They're not just marginal, you know. So coming into sort of these massive events, these massive road races, you've realised that through British Cycling and through the track, you've picked up a skill set of how to taper for it, how to nail your nutrition for these events, how to nail your mindset leading into these events. So yeah, it's actually, although physically one might be 4 minutes and one might be 6 hours, actually a lot of the preparation leading into the events is very similar.
What's going through your head when you're on the track versus going over the cobbles?
I think for me, I find specifically, I'm sort of narrowing in on the Madison, and that's my real passion on the track, and it's what I'm really good at. I really enjoy doing it, and for me, it tracks a bit of a flow state. I love being in the bunch. I love Madison. I love the technical aspect of it. The physical aspect seems to suit me, so it's a real pleasure and a privilege when I'm in a Madison. And then in contrast, road, it's hard, and I'm maybe not physically the strongest. So yeah, what's going on in my head when I'm road racing is like, just make it to the next sector, just make it through the next 10k. It will get easier. Sort of lying to myself almost.
How does the pavé and the cobbles of the French roads compare to maybe something like Scottish gravel?
Yeah, I think we did the recon, like I said, in March, and I'd never ridden the Forest of Arenberg or Carrefour de Labra or any of these sort of iconic sectors. And I remember when we finished Arenberg, just in the recon, I thought, nah, there is no way we can race over this. Like, that specifically was like nothing I'd ever raced on before. And I couldn't quite believe that, like, thousands of riders before had raced on this and then gone back to race on it again. So yeah, it was daunting. It was physically very demanding, but it's probably not dissimilar to a gravel race in a sense that the way you tackle gravel or cobbles technically is super important. You've got to look after your bike, you've got to look after your body, so weight distribution, entering these sections is super important. Like you say, you're positioning in the bunch, or even just lifting your front wheel before you get on the pavé so you don't puncture. So there's sort of these technical aspects that I imagine, would cover both.
You've just ridden a 258k race.
I think so, yeah.
And riders will be preparing to take on the Border 200 this weekend. What preparation tips would you give them?
Yeah, I'd say for me personally, it's easier to break it down into hours in my head rather than kilometers, because I train every day on the bike and I never train 2 kilometers. I train to hours. So what I did before Paris-Roubaix is you sort of have a look at what your projected average speed will be, and then from that you can work out, okay, am I going to be 5 hours, 6 hours, or 7 hours? And then once I know the hours, to me it's way more manageable to break that up into sections. So okay, this is what I'm going to do for the first couple hours, and then the middle 3 hours I'll do this, and then the final 2 or 3 hours I'll do this, just like I would do in almost every training ride. So yeah, so that was the first thing, so sort of putting it into more manageable chunks in my head. And then the second thing was just not changing anything massively. Like, it's 200k, the event, but other events might be 150k. So you're only 50k more, you want to sort of go through the motions like you would for a larger event, but maybe you're having 100 grams more carbs at dinner. You're not changing anything dramatically, you're just making small tweaks for a slightly bigger event. But you've sort of got your base stuff that you do for every event. And like for me, going into a Paris-Roubaix as opposed to like a smaller road event, a lot of my preparation actually remains the same. And it's just making minor tweaks because the distance is longer. But my taper, my pre-race day, my nutrition strategy all looks very similar to what I've tried and tested before.
I've got some of the rapid fires. Hopefully they are up to scratch.
Okay, let's find out.
Wow. Paris Velodrome or Roubaix Velodrome?
Paris Velodrome. The Olympics is cool.
Cobbles or gravel?
Cobbles. Now that it's been a week since Roubaix, cobbles.
Clark's or Greg's?
Oh, Clarky's every day of the week.
Rain or mud?
Rain.
Solo breakaway versus bunch sprint?
Solo breakaway.
Gels or real food?
Real food.
Scotland or New Zealand?
Scotland.
200k done or 200k to go?
200k done.
Were those options up to scratch?
They were great, man.
Good stuff.
I struggle with quickfire because I quite like speaking. Wanted to unpack every quickfire question.